when Hotel Heiress Evelyn Hart hired Marcus Reed as her personal trainer. She thought she was simply buying his expertise to heal her injured ankle. What she didn't know was that this single decision would ignite a scandal that would threaten to destroy everything: his reputation, her family's billion-dollar empire, and an innocent 7-year-old boy's sense of safety. As whispered accusations of gold-digging and inappropriate relationships spread like wildfire through their elite social circle, Evelyn faced an impossible choice: protect the Hart family legacy her father died building, or defend the man who had quietly become her anchor in a sea of grief and pretense. But when the gossip blogs published intimate photos that told only half the truth, Marcus made a devastating decision that would change all their lives forever. The memorial hike that was supposed to heal old wounds was about to tear open new ones, and the price of choosing love over reputation might be higher than any of them imagined. If you're watching this story unfold, hit that subscribe button and tell me where you're from, because what happens next will shock you to your core. The late afternoon sun slanted through Evelyn Hart's townhouse office windows, casting long shadows across the mahogany desk where she sat scrolling through her phone. Her ankle throbbed, a dull, persistent reminder of last week's tumble down the hotel's marble steps. The doctors said 6 weeks. 6 weeks until she could walk normally again. 6 weeks until she could even think about the memorial hike. Her fingers paused over Clara's text message. Best trainer I know. Marcus Reed. Discreet, professional. Call him. Evelyn stared at the number. She'd been putting this off for 3 days, telling herself she could manage with YouTube videos and determination. But every morning brought the same truth. Her ankle was weak, and time was running out. The anniversary of her father's death was next month. She'd promised herself she would finally make that hike to his favorite overlook. She'd been too scared to go alone after the panic attack started. Her thumb hovered over the call button. What would she even say? Hi, I'm Evelyn Hart, and I need help walking again? The thought made her stomach twist. Before she could change her mind, she pressed call. Marcus Reed. His voice was warm but professional. Hi, this is Evelyn Hart. Clara Lynn gave me your number. I need a personal trainer. Sure. What are your goals? Evelyn closed her eyes. I sprained my ankle. I need to get strong again. Quickly. How quickly? A month, maybe less. There was a pause. That depends on how bad the sprain was. Are you cleared for exercise? Yes. Clara, she's my physical therapist, said I could start gentle training. Okay, when would you like to meet? Can you come here, to my house? I'd prefer privacy. Another pause. I can do that. How about tomorrow morning, 6:30? That early? Best time if you want. Privacy. Fewer people around. Evelyn found herself nodding, even though he couldn't see her. Okay, 6:30. She gave him the address and hung up, then immediately regretted it. What was she doing? She didn't know this man, but Clara trusted him, and Clara didn't trust easily. The front door chimed, and Evelyn heard familiar footsteps in the hallway. Evie, you here? Clara's voice carried from the entryway. Office, Evelyn called back. Clara appeared in the doorway, her physical therapist's bag slung over her shoulder, and a knowing smile on her face. You called him. How did you? You look terrified. That's your I just did something scary face. Clara settled into the chair across from the desk. Good. Marcus is exactly what you need. What if he's not? Then you fire him, but he won't disappoint you. Clara leaned forward. Evie, he helped Mrs. Patterson walk again after her hip replacement. She's 78. If he can get her hiking with her grandkids, he can get you ready for that trail. Evelyn's chest tightened. She hadn't told Clara about the real reason she needed to get strong again: the memorial hike to her father's favorite spot was supposed to be private. A promise she'd made to herself in those dark weeks after the funeral. "Let me show you the ankle taping again," Clara said, pulling supplies from her bag. "Marcus will need to know how to do this properly." For the next 30 minutes, Clara walked Evelyn through the wrapping technique, showing her how to support the joint without cutting off circulation. It felt good to focus on something practical, something with clear steps and a measurable outcome. "Remember," Clara said as she packed up, "healing isn't linear. Some days will be better than others. Don't push through pain, but don't baby it either." After Clara left, Evelyn found herself standing in her bedroom, staring at her closet. What did people wear for personal training? She'd never needed to think about it before. Her usual morning routine involved designer suits and heels. Tomorrow would be different. She pulled out a pair of black leggings and a simple gray t-shirt, laying them across the chair by her window. Next to them, she placed her new athletic shoes, still in the box, tags attached. She'd bought them online after the injury, telling herself she'd need them eventually. On her nightstand, she set 2 alarms. One for 6 o'clock, another for 6:10. No room for oversleeping or second thoughts. Then she walked to her dresser and opened the small wooden box where she kept her most precious things. Inside, beneath her grandmother's pearl earrings and her mother's vintage charm bracelet, lay a folded piece of paper. She lifted it carefully, running her finger along the crease. Mount Rainier Memorial Service for James Robert Hart. The program from her father's funeral was worn soft from handling. She'd carried it everywhere for months after he died, unable to let go. Now it lived in this box, but she still took it out sometimes when she needed to feel close to him. Tomorrow, she would take the first step toward keeping her promise to him. The thought terrified and comforted her in equal measure. She placed the program back in the box and closed it gently. The alarm felt brutal at 6 in the morning. Evelyn had been awake since 5:30, watching the clock and fighting the urge to cancel. Her ankle felt stiff as she swung her legs out of bed, but there was no sharp pain. That was something. She dressed quickly, tied her hair back, and made her way to the small room off her kitchen that she'd converted into a home gym after the injury. It had seemed like a good idea at the time. Mirrors, yoga mats, a few weights she'd never used. Now it felt like a stage where she was about to perform badly. At exactly 6:30, the doorbell rang. Evelyn took a deep breath and opened the door. Marcus Reed was not what she'd expected. He was tall, probably 6'2", with kind eyes and an easy smile. He wore simple clothes, gray athletic shorts, and a black t-shirt that showed he was in excellent shape without being showy about it. Most importantly, he looked at her face when he spoke, not at her house or her designer workout clothes. "Ms. Hart, I'm Marcus. How are you feeling this morning?" "Nervous," she admitted, then immediately wished she hadn't. "Good. Nervous means you care about doing this right." He held up a small duffel bag. "Mind if I come in? I brought some assessment tools." She led him to the training room, hyper-aware of every step. Was she limping? Was it obvious how weak her ankle still felt? Marcus set down his bag and looked around the space. "This is perfect. Good lighting, plenty of room. How's the ankle feeling right now?" "Okay, a little stiff." "That's normal. Let's start with some basic movements so I can see how you're compensating." He pulled out a clipboard and pen. "I'm going to watch you walk normally, then do a few simple exercises. Nothing that should hurt, but tell me immediately if anything feels wrong." For the next 20 minutes, Marcus had her walk back and forth across the room, step up and down on a low platform, and try some basic balance exercises. He didn't say much, just watched carefully and took notes. His presence was oddly calming. He didn't rush her or make her feel foolish when she wobbled. Your gait is pretty good, he said finally. You're favoring the ankle slightly, but that's natural. The bigger issue is that your left calf is tight, probably from avoiding full weight bearing for too long. Is that bad? Not bad, just something to work on. We'll start with gentle stretching and stability work. He demonstrated a simple calf stretch against the wall. Like this. Hold it for 30 seconds. Breathe normally. Evelyn followed his instructions, surprised by how much tighter her left side felt compared to her right. Good. Now let's try some balance work. Marcus placed a small foam pad on the floor. Stand on this with your good foot first, just so you know what it feels like. She stepped onto the pad easily, barely wobbling. Now the injured side. This was different. Her ankle felt uncertain, and she found herself reaching for the wall almost immediately. That's fine, Marcus said quickly. Use the wall. We're not trying to prove anything today, just finding your starting point. There was something in his voice, patience without pity, that made her try again. This time, she lasted almost 10 seconds before needing support. Better, he said, making another note. Your proprioception is coming back. That's the ankle's ability to sense where it is in space. We'll work on that. As the session continued, Evelyn found herself relaxing. Marcus explained everything he was doing and why. When she struggled with an exercise, he modified it immediately. When she succeeded, he acknowledged it without making a big deal. I think that's enough for today, he said as they finished. You did well? Really? I feel like I failed most of those. You showed up. You tried everything I asked. You communicated when something hurt. That's not failing. He pulled out a small card from his pocket and handed it to her. Your homework. Evelyn read the neat handwriting. 2x daily, ankle alphabet, each direction, box breathing, 4-4-4-4 pattern, calf stretch, 30 seconds each leg. Box breathing? She asked. In for 4 counts, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. Helps with anxiety and keeps you present during exercises. How had he known about her anxiety? Same time tomorrow? Marcus asked, packing his equipment. Yes, and Marcus, thank you for being patient with me. We all start somewhere, Ms. Hart. See you tomorrow. After he left, Evelyn sat on her couch and looked at the homework card. Such simple instructions, but they felt like a roadmap back to strength. She pulled out her phone and texted Clara. He's good. Really good. Then she walked to her dresser, opened the wooden box, and touched her father's memorial program. Soon, Dad, she whispered. I'm getting stronger. The next morning came easier. Evelyn woke up 5 minutes before her alarm and actually felt eager to start. Her ankle was less stiff, and she'd done her homework exercises twice yesterday without any increase in pain. At 6:30 sharp, Marcus knocked on her side door as they'd arranged. How are we feeling today? He asked, following her to the training room. Better. The homework helped. Good. Today we're going outside. Evelyn paused. Outside? Just to the sidewalk. Walking is the best exercise for ankle recovery, but we need to practice on different surfaces. Marcus pulled a water bottle from his bag and handed it to her. The key is controlled challenge. Right now, your ankle only knows how to work on flat, predictable floors. We need to teach it to handle real-world conditions. They started with a slow walk around her block. The morning air was crisp and clean, carrying the scent of jasmine from a neighbor's garden. Evelyn found herself paying attention to things she'd stopped noticing, the way different sidewalk surfaces felt under her feet, the gentle slope of the street, the rhythm of her own breathing. How does this feel? Marcus asked as they paused at the corner. Good. Different, but good. Different how? Evelyn thought about it. At home, I know exactly what to expect. Out here, I have to pay attention to every step. That's the point. Your ankle needs to learn to adapt again. They turned toward the small park that bordered her neighborhood. Mind if we walk on the path? It's got some gentle curves. The park path was paved but narrower than the sidewalk, with slight elevation changes and curves around old oak trees. Marcus walked beside her, not hovering, but close enough that she felt secure. Tell me about your goals, he said as they walked. Clara mentioned you need to be ready for something specific. Evelyn's chest tightened. She'd hoped to avoid this conversation. Just general fitness. Ms. Hart. Marcus's voice was gentle but firm. I can't design the right program if I don't know what you're training for. Are you trying to get back to a sport? A physical job? A specific activity? She stopped walking and looked at him. There was no judgment in his face, just professional curiosity and something that looked like genuine care. A hike, she said finally. It's a memorial hike. For my father, next month. Marcus nodded. How long? How steep? About 3 miles. Some uphill sections. Nothing extreme, but... She trailed off. But you need to know you can finish it. Yes. Then that's what we'll train for. Marcus pulled out his phone and made a quick note. 3 miles, mixed terrain, 1-month timeline. We can do that. The simplicity of his response caught her off guard. No probing questions about her father or the significance of the hike. No false sympathy or dramatic promises. Just a clear acknowledgement of her goal and a confident assessment of its feasibility. They continued walking, and Evelyn found herself talking more freely than she had in months. She told Marcus about her fear of her ankle giving out on uneven terrain. About the panic attacks she'd started having after her father's sudden heart attack. About how she'd been putting off the memorial hike for almost a year because she couldn't trust her own body anymore. Marcus listened, without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. Fear is information, he said finally. It's telling you to be prepared, so we'll prepare. As they completed their loop back to her house, they passed an elderly South Asian woman walking slowly with a cane. Her face lit up when she saw Marcus. Marcus, how are you, Beta? Hi, Mrs. Patel. I'm good. How's the knee? Much better, thanks to you. I walked to the grocery store yesterday. She beamed with pride. Who is your friend? This is Ms. Hart. She's working on getting strong again, too. Mrs. Patel looked at Evelyn with warm, knowing eyes. He is very patient, this one. He taught me to walk again after my surgery. You are in good hands. After Mrs. Patel continued on her way, Evelyn felt something shift inside her chest. There was something about the way the older woman had looked at Marcus, with genuine affection and gratitude. This wasn't just a job for him. Back at her house, they finished the session with gentle stretching and balance work. Marcus showed her how to properly wrap her ankle with athletic tape, his hands gentle but confident as he demonstrated the technique. Homework update, he said, handing her a new card. Same as yesterday, plus 10 minutes of outdoor walking. It doesn't have to be far, just on varied surfaces. What about hills? Not yet. Let's build consistency first. Hills in a week or 2. After Marcus left, Evelyn found herself standing in her kitchen, looking out at the park path where they'd walked. For the first time since her injury, she felt genuinely hopeful about her recovery. Not because Marcus had promised her anything dramatic, but because he'd broken down her big, scary goal into manageable daily steps. She pulled out her phone and texted Clara. You were right. He's exactly what I needed. Then she did something she hadn't done in months. She put on her walking shoes and went for a second walk around the block, just because she could. The days settled into a rhythm that surprised Evelyn. Every morning at 6:30, Marcus would appear at her side door with his quiet confidence and patient smile. They'd spend 45 minutes working on her ankle, balance exercises, gentle strength training, and longer walks through the neighborhood. By the end of the first week, Evelyn was walking 2 miles without discomfort. By the end of the second, she could balance on the foam pad for 30 seconds without touching the wall. The improvement felt almost magical, but Marcus insisted it was just consistency. "Bodies want to heal," he told her one morning as they stretched on her back patio. "We're just giving yours the right conditions." It was during their third week together that everything shifted. They were finishing their usual route through the park when Marcus's phone buzzed insistently. He glanced at the screen, and Evelyn saw his expression change. "Everything okay?" she asked. "It's Noah's school. Hold on." He answered the call with a quick "Marcus Reed." Evelyn watched his face as he listened. Even without hearing the other side of the conversation, she could tell something was wrong. Marcus's shoulders tensed, and he rubbed his forehead with his free hand. No, it's fine. I'll be right there." He ended the call and looked at Evelyn apologetically. "I'm sorry. Noah's not feeling well. They need me to pick him up." "Of course. Go." Marcus hesitated, checking his watch. "I know you have that 8 o'clock meeting across town. I can call you a cab or—" "I can drive you," Evelyn heard herself say. "The school's on my way." "Ms. Hart, you don't need to—" "It's Evelyn, and yes, I do need to. You helped me walk again. Let me help you with this." The drive to Noah's elementary school took 15 minutes through the morning traffic. Marcus sat quietly in the passenger seat, checking his phone every few seconds. "Is he sick a lot?" Evelyn asked. "No, hardly ever. That's why I'm worried." Marcus looked out the window. "He's 7. His mom died when he was 3, so it's just been us since then. Every parent call still scares me." Evelyn's chest tightened. She'd known Marcus was a single father, but hearing about his late wife made everything feel more real, more personal. "What was her name?" she asked softly. "Lisa. She had cancer. Fought it for 2 years." Marcus's voice was steady, but Evelyn could hear the old pain underneath. "Noah barely remembers her, but he knows she loved him. That's what matters." They pulled into the school parking lot, and Marcus was out of the car before Evelyn had fully stopped. "Wait here," he said. "I'll just be a minute." But Evelyn found herself turning off the engine and following him inside. She couldn't explain why exactly. Maybe it was curiosity, or maybe it was the protective instinct she'd seen in Marcus's eyes. Either way, she wanted to make sure Noah was okay. The school office was small and bright, with children's artwork covering every wall. Marcus was already kneeling beside a small boy who sat in one of the plastic chairs, clutching a backpack to his chest. Noah Reed was beautiful. He had his father's warm eyes and careful way of moving, but where Marcus was confident, Noah seemed shy. He looked up when Marcus approached, and his whole face relaxed. "Hey, buddy, how are you feeling?" "My stomach hurts," Noah said in a voice barely above a whisper. "It's been hurting since breakfast." Marcus felt Noah's forehead with the back of his hand. "No fever? Did you eat something different this morning?" Noah shook his head, then noticed Evelyn standing near the door. He leaned closer to Marcus and whispered something Evelyn couldn't hear. "That's Ms. Hart," Marcus said gently. "She gave us a ride. Can you say hello?" Noah looked at Evelyn with serious dark eyes. "Hello." "Hi, Noah. I hope you feel better soon." The school secretary handed Marcus a form to sign. "He threw up once around 9:30, but his temperature is normal. Probably just a stomach bug." As they walked back to the car, Noah stayed close to his father's side. Evelyn noticed he was carrying a small sketchbook along with his backpack. "Do you like to draw?" she asked as they got in the car. Noah nodded, but didn't speak. He's shy, Marcus explained, buckling Noah into the back seat. But yes, he loves drawing. Shows me a new picture every day. What do you like to draw? Evelyn asked, turning to look at Noah. Animals and houses, sometimes boats. Noah's voice was soft, but he seemed more comfortable now that they were in the car. Boats are hard to draw, Evelyn said. I bet you're really good at it. For the first time, Noah smiled. Want to see? He opened his sketchbook and carefully turned to a page showing a small sailboat on wavy water. It was clearly the work of a 7-year-old, but there was something thoughtful about the way he'd drawn the clouds and the birds in the distance. Noah, this is beautiful, Evelyn said, and meant it. I love how peaceful it looks. That's what I was trying to draw. Dad says the ocean is peaceful when you're not scared of it. Marcus caught Evelyn's eye in the rearview mirror. There was something grateful in his expression, and also something that looked like surprise, as if he hadn't expected her to be so natural with his son. They drove Noah to Marcus's apartment, a tidy 2-bedroom place in a quiet complex with a playground visible from the living room windows. Marcus carried Noah inside and settled him on the couch with a glass of water and a bowl in case he felt sick again. I should go, Evelyn said from the doorway. Let you take care of him. Thank you, Marcus said, for the ride and for being kind to him. Not everyone knows how to talk to shy kids. Evelyn thought of her own childhood, the formal dinners and charity events where children were expected to be polite and invisible. He just needed someone to see his art. That afternoon, Evelyn found herself thinking about Noah's drawing and the quiet way he'd shown it to her. When she got home from her meetings, she did something she hadn't done since college. She sat at her kitchen table with a pencil and paper and tried to draw. The result was terrible, a lopsided house with windows that didn't match, but the act of drawing reminded her of something she'd forgotten, the simple pleasure of making something with your hands. The way focusing on small details could quiet your mind. She was still drawing when her phone rang. Evelyn? It was her mother's voice, sharp with disapproval. I just had the most interesting conversation with Margaret Chen from the country club. Evelyn's stomach dropped. Margaret Chen was the unofficial news network for their social circle, a woman who collected gossip like rare coins and shared it just as selectively. Oh? She said she saw you this morning, getting out of your car at Jefferson Elementary with some man and a child. Vivian Hart's tone could have cut glass. Care to explain? Evelyn closed her eyes. She should have known this would happen. Their neighborhood was small, and her mother's friends had radar for anything that deviated from expected behavior. It's not what you think, Mom. Then explain it to me, because what I think is that my daughter was seen at a public elementary school with a strange man and child, and now people are going to talk. Marcus is my personal trainer. His son was sick, and I gave them a ride to school. That's all. There was a long silence. Then, your personal trainer has a child? Yes. And you felt it was appropriate to involve yourself in his personal life? Evelyn felt heat rise in her cheeks. I felt it was appropriate to help someone who's been helping me. Evelyn. Vivian's voice took on the patient tone she used when she thought her daughter was being particularly naive. I know you have a good heart, but you need to think about how these things look. You're a heart. People watch you. Maybe they should find something more interesting to watch. Don't be glib. This matters. Your reputation matters. The family name matters. After the call ended, Evelyn sat staring at her terrible drawing. For 29 years, she'd lived according to her mother's rules about reputation and appearances. But sitting in that car with Marcus and Noah, watching a 7-year-old proudly show his artwork, had felt more real than most of the interactions she'd had with her mother's social circle. The next morning, she and Marcus didn't mention the school incident. They focused on training, working on lateral movements and small hills in the park. But there was something different in the air between them, a softness that hadn't been there before. "How's Noah feeling?" she asked as they finished their cool-down stretches. "Better. He ate breakfast this morning and asked if he could draw you a picture." "He wants to draw me a picture?" Marcus smiled. "He was impressed that you liked his boat. He's working on something special." The warmth in Evelyn's chest surprised her. When was the last time someone had wanted to draw her a picture? "I'd love to see it," she said. That evening, as Evelyn was making dinner, her doorbell rang. She opened it to find Marcus and Noah standing on her front step. Noah was holding a folded piece of paper and looking nervous. "He insisted on delivering this in person," Marcus said. "We won't stay long." Noah stepped forward and held out the paper. "I drew this for you." Evelyn unfolded it carefully. The drawing showed 3 stick figures standing by the ocean. One tall figure with dark hair, one smaller figure holding what looked like a sketchbook, and one figure with light hair wearing what she realized were her running shoes. Above them, Noah had written in careful letters, "Thank you for the ride." "Noah," Evelyn said, her voice catching slightly, "this is the most beautiful picture anyone has ever drawn for me." The little boy beamed. "Really? Really? Would it be okay if I put it on my refrigerator?" Noah looked at his father, who nodded. "That would be awesome." As Evelyn taped the drawing to her refrigerator, she felt something shift inside her chest. For the first time in months, her house felt less like a museum and more like a home. Marcus and Noah stayed for dinner, just pasta and salad. But Noah chattered about school and his art teacher, and Marcus told funny stories about his other clients. It was the kind of evening Evelyn had always imagined, other families having but had never experienced herself. Later, as Marcus was getting Noah ready to leave, the little boy looked up at Evelyn with serious eyes. "Are you and Dad friends now?" he asked. Evelyn glanced at Marcus, who was watching her carefully. "Yes," she said. "I think we are." Noah nodded as if this made perfect sense. "Good. Dad needs more friends. He gets lonely sometimes, but he doesn't think I notice." The honesty of it took Evelyn's breath away. In her world, people spoke in careful euphemisms and polite deflections. But Noah just said what he saw, without filter or pretense. After they left, Evelyn stood in her kitchen looking at the drawing on her refrigerator. 3 figures by the ocean. A family, even if it wasn't labeled that way. She pulled out her phone and started to text Marcus, then stopped. What would she say? "Thank you for dinner? Thank you for letting me be part of something real?" Instead, she made herself a cup of tea and sat at her kitchen table to practice the ankle exercises Marcus had given her. Tomorrow, they would work on steeper hills. Soon, she would be ready for the memorial hike. But tonight, for the first time since her father's death, she wasn't thinking about the hike as something she had to endure alone. She was thinking about it as something she might actually want to do. The shift was subtle, but profound. Like the difference between walking because you have to and walking because you choose to. Like the difference between being strong enough to survive and being strong enough to truly live. 3 days after Noah's drawing appeared on her refrigerator, Evelyn's world shifted again. This time, it wasn't a phone call or a chance encounter. It was a single photograph posted to a local gossip blog called City Scene. The image was grainy but clear enough. Evelyn and Marcus walking on the park path, his hand steadying her elbow as she stepped off a curb. The caption read, Hotel Heiress Evelyn Hart spotted with mystery man. Personal trainer or something more? Evelyn discovered it at 7:30 in the evening while scrolling through her phone. Her first instinct was to call Marcus, but she stopped herself. What would she say? I'm sorry someone took our picture? I'm sorry my mother was right about people watching? Instead, she poured herself a glass of wine and read the short article that accompanied the photo. It was mostly speculation dressed up as news, full of phrases like sources close to the family and those in the know. But the implication was clear. The Hart Hotel heiress was slumming it with the help. The comments below the article were worse. Some defended her right to privacy, but others were cruel in the specific way that anonymous internet voices could be. They called Marcus a gold digger and speculated about what he was really after. They questioned her judgment and made jokes about charity cases. Evelyn felt sick reading them, not because they hurt her feelings, but because they reduced Marcus, patient, professional Marcus, who helped elderly women walk again and tucked his shy son into bed with stories about brave small steps, to a stereotype that had nothing to do with who he actually was. Her phone rang. Vivian's name appeared on the screen. I assume you've seen it, her mother said without preamble. I've seen it. Then you understand why this needs to stop. Immediately. Evelyn walked to her refrigerator and looked at Noah's drawing. 3 figures by the ocean. It's just gossip, Mom. It'll blow over. Will it? Because Margaret Chen just called to tell me that everyone at the club is talking about it. They're saying you're having some kind of breakdown, acting out because of grief. Maybe they should mind their own business. Evelyn. Vivian's voice grew sharp. This isn't just about you. The hotel chain depends on our family's reputation. Your father built that business on trust and respectability. Do you want to damage that because of some trainer? The words hit harder than Evelyn expected. Her father had been proud of the Hart Hotel legacy. He'd spent 40 years building a brand based on elegance and reliability. Would he be disappointed in her now? Marcus isn't some trainer, she said quietly. He's helping me get strong enough to do Dad's memorial hike. There was a pause. What memorial hike? Evelyn realized she'd never told her mother about her plan. To his favorite overlook, Mount Rainier, next weekend. Evelyn, honey. Vivian's voice softened unexpectedly. You don't need to do that. Your father wouldn't expect you to. Yes, he would. He'd expect me to be brave enough to say goodbye properly. After her mother hung up, Evelyn sat in her kitchen staring at the wine she wasn't drinking. She tried to imagine what her father would say about the blog post and the gossip. James Hart had been a practical man who measured people by their actions, not their bank accounts. He'd hired employees based on competence and character, not social connections. But he'd also been protective of the family name. He'd understood that reputation was fragile and took years to build, but could be destroyed in a news cycle. The next morning, Marcus arrived at exactly 6:30 as always. He was professional and focused during their warm-up, but Evelyn could sense tension underneath his usual calm demeanor. We should talk about yesterday, she said as they walked toward the park. What about it? The blog post? I know you've seen it. Marcus kept walking, his pace steady. People talk. It's not your fault. Isn't it? I'm the one who insisted on giving you a ride. I'm the one who invited you for dinner. They reached a bench overlooking the water and sat down. Marcus was quiet for a long moment, watching a jogger pass by with her golden retriever. I got 3 cancellation texts last night, he said finally. Clients who suddenly don't need training anymore. Evelyn's stomach dropped. Marcus, I'm so sorry. It's not your fault, he repeated, but his voice was tight. I've dealt with this before. Some people see a black man working with their wives or daughters and jump to conclusions. Usually it blows over. What can I do? I could call them, explain. No. Marcus turned to look at her, and his expression was kind but firm. That would make it worse. The best thing is to keep our distance until people find something else to talk about. Keep our distance? Professional boundaries. No more car rides. No more dinners. Just training, and only here in public, where everything's transparent. The words felt like a physical blow. Evelyn realized how much she'd come to look forward to the easy conversations during their walks. The way Marcus listened without judgment. The glimpse into a different kind of life when Noah had shown her his drawings. What about Noah? She asked. He drew me a picture. Something flickered across Marcus's face. Noah gets attached easily. Maybe it's better if he doesn't get too comfortable with this situation. They finished their training session in relative silence, both of them going through the motions of ankle exercises and balance work. But the ease between them was gone, replaced by a careful politeness that felt worse than hostility. As Marcus packed his equipment, Mrs. Patel approached from the opposite end of the path. She walked slowly but steadily, her cane more decorative than necessary now. Marcus, Beta, how are you? She beamed at him, then turned to Evelyn. And Ms. Hart, how is the ankle healing? Much better, thanks to Marcus, Evelyn said, trying to match the older woman's warm tone. He is the best, isn't he? My knee replacement was 6 months ago, and I thought I'd never walk to the grocery store again. Now look. Mrs. Patel took a few quick steps to demonstrate. My daughter says it's a miracle, but Marcus says it's just consistency. Bodies want to heal, Marcus said, echoing the phrase Evelyn had heard him use with her. We just give them the right conditions. Exactly. Mrs. Patel clapped her hands together. And Ms. Hart, you are lucky to have him helping you. He is very patient, very professional. Not like some of these young trainers who just want to show off. As Mrs. Patel continued on her walk, Evelyn felt a pang of loss. This was what she was giving up, not just Marcus's professional expertise, but his steady presence in her life. The way he made improvement feel possible without being overwhelming. The quiet confidence that had started to rub off on her. I should go, Marcus said, shouldering his bag. Same time tomorrow? Evelyn nodded, though part of her wanted to tell him to forget the whole thing. If their professional relationship was causing him to lose clients, maybe she should find someone else. But the memorial hike was only 10 days away, and she couldn't imagine trusting anyone else to help her prepare. That afternoon brought an unexpected visitor. Evelyn was working in her home office when her doorbell rang insistently, not the polite single chime of delivery drivers or neighbors, but the rapid-fire buzzing of someone who expected immediate attention. She opened the door to find Adrian Wolfe standing on her doorstep with his expensive suit and practiced smile. Adrian had dated her briefly 2 years ago, a relationship that had lasted exactly 4 months and ended when she realized he was more interested in being seen with a heart than in actually knowing Evelyn herself. Adrian, what are you doing here? I heard you might need some help with a little PR situation. He stepped into her foyer without being invited, looking around as if assessing the space for potential photo opportunities. Mind if I come in? You're already in. Adrian laughed as if she'd made a joke. Same old Evelyn, always so direct. He followed her to the living room and settled onto her couch as if he belonged there. So, personal trainer drama, I have to say, I didn't see that coming. There's no drama, it's just gossip. Gossip can be managed, sweetness. That's what I do. Adrian pulled out his phone and scrolled to what looked like a prepared presentation. I've already reached out to my contacts at City Scene. We can spin this easily. You're getting back in shape after your injury. working with a top-rated professional trainer. Very health-conscious, very inspiring. I don't need you to spin anything. Maybe not, but you could use some positive press. The hotel chain's stock has been flat for 6 months. A story about the heiress overcoming adversity, getting strong again after her father's death. That's good for business. Evelyn stared at him. You want to use my grief as a marketing campaign? I want to use your strength as a marketing campaign. There's a difference. Adrian leaned forward, his expression earnest. Think about it, Evie. A professional photo shoot with you and some celebrity trainer? Not this neighborhood guy, obviously, but someone with credentials. Maybe a fitness magazine feature. Heiress fights back from injury. It positions you as resilient, relatable. Relatable? You know what I mean. People love a comeback story, and after the questions about your mental state following your father's death, this shows you're moving forward in a healthy way. The casual cruelty of it took Evelyn's breath away. Adrian was talking about her father's death, her injury, her grief, as if they were props in a publicity campaign. As if her actual healing mattered less than the appearance of healing. Get out, she said quietly. Evelyn, get out of my house. Now. Adrian's practiced smile faltered. You're making a mistake. That blog post is just the beginning. If you don't control the narrative, someone else will. After he left, Evelyn found herself shaking with anger. Not just at Adrian's presumption, but at the way he'd reduced everything meaningful in her life to publicity opportunities. Her recovery, her relationship with Marcus, even her father's memory. Everything was potential content for social media and magazine features. She walked to her refrigerator and looked at Noah's drawing again. 3 figures by the ocean, drawn with careful crayons and innocent hope. There was something pure about it that made Adrian's calculating approach seem even more grotesque. That evening, she received a text from Marcus. Training tomorrow at 6:30. We'll work on hill intervals. You're almost ready. She stared at the message for a long time before responding. Thank you for everything. She didn't send what she really wanted to say. I'm sorry my world is so complicated. I'm sorry being kind to me is costing you clients. I'm sorry 3 people can't just walk by the ocean without it becoming a story. Instead, she went to bed early and tried to dream about mountain tops and memorial benches, and the moment when she would finally be strong enough to say goodbye to her father properly. But her dreams were full of camera flashes and cruel comments, and the sound of Marcus's voice saying professional boundaries like it was the answer to everything, when really, it just felt like another kind of wall. The memorial hike was 6 days away when everything fell apart. Evelyn had been making steady progress. She could walk 3 miles without pain, handle moderate inclines, and had even managed some of the rockier trail sections in the nearby hills. Marcus had been professional but distant since the blog post, keeping their sessions focused purely on training goals. No more easy conversations, no more glimpses into his life with Noah. She missed the friendship more than she wanted to admit. On Thursday evening, she was meal prepping for the weekend hike when her phone buzzed with a notification. Another City Scene post. This time, the headline made her stomach drop. Heiress romance heats up. Exclusive photos. The main image showed her and Marcus on the boardwalk from 3 days ago. They'd been working on balance exercises near the railing when a sudden gust of wind had knocked her slightly off balance. Marcus had steadied her with a gentle hand on her back, a purely professional gesture that had lasted maybe 3 seconds. But the photographer had captured something else entirely. The moment right after, when they'd both started laughing at her wobble. When Marcus had stepped closer to make sure she was okay. When they'd looked at each other for just a beat longer than necessary. In the photograph, it looked like an intimate moment between 2 people who cared about each other. Which, Evelyn realized with a start, was exactly what it had been. The second photo was worse. It showed them by the boardwalk railing later that same session, when Marcus had been explaining something about breathing techniques. Evelyn had been listening intently, her body naturally angled toward his. In the image, it looked like they were about to kiss. They hadn't kissed. But, looking at the photo, Evelyn could see why someone might think they had wanted to. The article was short but devastating. It quoted sources close to the situation speculating about the relationship between the hotel heiress and her trainer. It mentioned Marcus's status as a single father and included just enough personal details to make it clear someone had been asking questions about his life. The comments section was brutal. People debated whether Marcus was using Evelyn for money or social status. They questioned what kind of mother figure she might be for that poor kid. They made racist assumptions wrapped in concern-trolling language about cultural differences and different backgrounds. But it wasn't the comments that made Evelyn's hands shake as she read. It was the sudden realization that this wasn't just gossip anymore. This was a story that could follow Marcus and Noah for months or years. Noah was 7 years old. Kids at school would Google his father's name and find this speculation about his family life. Her phone rang. Marcus. "We need to talk," he said without preamble. "I saw it." "Can I come over? It's important." 15 minutes later, Marcus was standing in her living room, but he wasn't alone. Noah was with him, clutching his sketchbook and looking smaller than usual. "I couldn't get a sitter on short notice," Marcus explained. "And I thought you should hear this together." Evelyn's chest tightened. "Hear what?" Marcus ran a hand over his face. "Today at school pickup, some of the other parents were talking. Loud enough for Noah to hear. About the photos, about us." He looked at his son with tired eyes. "Tell her what happened, buddy." Noah's voice was barely a whisper. "Tyler's mom said your dad's rich girlfriend now. She said we're going to be famous because you have a big house." He clutched his sketchbook tighter. "Then Tyler said we're going to move to your house, and I won't go to our school anymore." "Noah?" Evelyn started, but Marcus held up a hand. "There's more," he said quietly. "Ms. Alvarez called me this afternoon. Some kids have been teasing Noah about having a rich stepmom. It's affecting his concentration in class." The words hit Evelyn like a physical blow. She looked at Noah's serious little face and saw confusion and hurt that he was too young to fully understand. "I'm so sorry," she said, kneeling down to Noah's level. "Those people don't understand. Your dad is my trainer, and we're friends, that's all." Noah looked between his father and Evelyn with the two wise eyes of a child who'd learned early that adult relationships were complicated. "Are you going to stop being friends?" he asked. The question hung in the air like smoke. Marcus and Evelyn looked at each other, and in that moment, she saw everything he wasn't saying. The clients who'd canceled, the whispered conversations at school pickup, the way a simple professional relationship had become fodder for public speculation. "We need some space," Marcus said gently, speaking to Noah but looking at Evelyn. "Just for a while, until people stop talking." "But what about your ankle?" Noah asked Evelyn. "Dad says you're getting strong for something important." Evelyn felt tears prick her eyes. "I am strong enough now. Your dad taught me everything I need to know." It wasn't entirely true. She'd planned to do one more practice hike with Marcus this weekend, working out the final details of pace and rest stops. But she could see the strain this was putting on his family, and she couldn't live with that. "Maybe," Noah's voice was hesitant. "Maybe after the talking stops, we could have dinner again? I'm working on a new drawing." "I'd love that," Evelyn said, meaning it completely. After they left, Evelyn sat in her kitchen staring at Noah's first drawing still taped to her refrigerator. 3 figures by the ocean. It seemed impossibly optimistic now. She pulled out her phone and did something she'd been avoiding for weeks. She recorded a 60-second video message and posted it to her small social media account, the personal one she used for family updates and charity events, not the official Heart Hotel's account. In the video, she sat at her kitchen table, Noah's drawing visible in the background, and spoke directly to the camera. "Hi everyone. I know there's been some speculation about my personal life lately, so I wanted to clear things up. Marcus Reed is my personal trainer. He's helping me recover from an ankle injury so I can complete a memorial hike for my father next weekend. Marcus is a consummate professional and a devoted single father. He's helped me regain strength and confidence during a difficult time, and I'm grateful for his expertise." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "I'm also grateful for his friendship, which is exactly what this is. I hope people will respect his privacy and his son's privacy going forward. Children shouldn't have to deal with adult speculation about their families." She posted the video and immediately turned off comments. Within an hour, it had been shared 50 times. By morning, it had reached several hundred people, small by social media standards, but significant for someone who usually avoided public statements. The response surprised her. Most of the messages were supportive. People shared their own stories about personal trainers who'd helped them through difficult times. Parents thanked her for protecting a child's privacy. A few people criticized her for addressing gossip at all, but they were outnumbered by those who appreciated her directness. More importantly, the gossip blog speculation seemed to quiet down. There was something about her straightforward explanation that made further innuendo seem petty and unnecessary. On Friday evening, Evelyn packed for the memorial hike. Water bottles, energy bars, a first aid kit, her father's memorial program folded carefully in a small plastic bag to protect it from moisture. She'd studied the trail maps obsessively, planned her pace and rest stops, even checked the weather forecast for the 3rd time. But as she laid out her hiking clothes, she felt a hollow ache where excitement should have been. This was supposed to be a triumphant moment, the culmination of weeks of training, the fulfillment of a promise she'd made to herself and to her father's memory. Instead, it felt like something she was doing alone because she'd run out of other options. Her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Weather looks good for tomorrow. You're ready for this." She stared at the message for a long time before responding. "Thank you for everything." What she wanted to say was longer and more complicated. "Thank you for teaching me that strength isn't about never falling down, but about getting back up with grace. Thank you for showing me what patience looks like in action. Thank you for letting me see what real love looks like between a father and son. Thank you for being exactly the friend I didn't know I needed." Instead, she wrote, "Give Noah my love." The next morning dawned clear and cool, perfect hiking weather. Evelyn drove to Mount Rainier National Park with her windows down, breathing the crisp autumn air and trying to focus on gratitude instead of loneliness. She was healthy. She was strong. She was finally doing something she'd been too scared to attempt for almost a year. The trailhead parking lot was busy with weekend hikers, families loading backpacks and checking gear. Evelyn found a spot near the back and sat in her car for a moment, looking at the trail map one more time. 3 miles to her father's favorite overlook, moderate elevation gain, well-marked trail. She could do this. She was adjusting her backpack straps when she heard a familiar voice. "Evelyn?" She turned to see Marcus walking toward her from a blue Honda parked 2 spaces away. Noah was beside him, wearing a small hiking backpack and looking excited. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her heart jumping. "Noah wanted to come," Marcus said simply. "He said you shouldn't have to do something important by yourself. But I thought, The gossip, the school situation, is handled, Marcus said. Your video helped, a lot. Ms. Alvarez says the teasing stopped after some parents saw it and had talks with their kids about privacy. He looked at her seriously. Plus, Noah asked me a question I couldn't answer. What question? He asked me if being scared of what other people think is a good enough reason to stop being kind to people we care about. Evelyn felt tears prick her eyes. What did you tell him? I told him I'd think about it. Then I realized I already knew the answer. Noah stepped forward, holding out a folded piece of paper. I finished the new drawing, for your dad's hike. Evelyn unfolded it carefully. This one showed a mountain trail with 3 figures walking upward toward a bright sun. At the bottom, Noah had written in careful letters, "For Evelyn's dad, we miss you too." Noah, she whispered, this is perfect. Dad told me about memorial hikes, Noah said seriously. He said they're for saying goodbye and saying thank you at the same time. Marcus checked his watch. We should get started if we want to beat the afternoon crowds, unless you'd prefer to go alone. Evelyn looked at both of them, Marcus with his patient smile, Noah with his eager eyes and his careful drawing. 3 weeks ago, they'd been strangers. Now they felt like family. Together, she said. Definitely together. The trail was everything Evelyn had hoped for and feared. Beautiful but challenging, with enough elevation gain to make her ankle work hard without overwhelming it. Marcus set an easy pace, stopping frequently for water breaks and scenic photos. Noah chattered about the different types of trees and asked questions about everything from trail markers to squirrel behavior. Halfway to the overlook, they stopped at a wooden bridge over a small creek. Noah immediately started sketching while Marcus and Evelyn sat on a fallen log, sharing trail mix and watching other hikers pass by. Thank you, Evelyn said quietly. For coming today, for letting Noah come. Thank you for teaching me something, Marcus replied. What's that? That hiding from gossip doesn't make it go away, but living honestly usually does. They reached the memorial overlook just before noon. The view was spectacular. Rolling hills covered in autumn colors, distant mountains, a sky so clear it seemed to go on forever. Evelyn pulled out her father's memorial program and read the short passage she'd written for this moment. Dad, I know you always said actions matter more than words, so I hope this counts as an action. I'm finally strong enough to be here, to say goodbye properly, to promise that I'll keep being brave even when it's hard. She looked at the mountains stretching into the distance. I miss you every day, but I'm not scared of missing you anymore. She folded the program carefully and placed it under a small stone on the memorial bench. Other people had left tokens too, flowers, photos, small handwritten notes, evidence of love that endures beyond death. Noah approached with his sketchbook. Can I leave my drawing too? For your dad? Evelyn's throat tightened. I think he'd love that. They placed Noah's drawing next to her father's program, weighing it down with smooth creek stones. 3 figures climbing toward the sun, with a message about missing and remembering and moving forward together. The hike down was easier, filled with comfortable conversation, and Noah's observations about everything from cloud shapes to the way different rocks reflected sunlight. By the time they reached the parking lot, Evelyn felt lighter than she had in months. Ice cream? Marcus suggested, pointing to a small stand near the visitor center. Ice cream, Noah agreed emphatically. As they sat at a picnic table sharing vanilla, cones, and watching other families pack up their hiking gear, Evelyn realized something important had shifted. Not just her physical strength, though that was real and hard-won, but something deeper. Her ability to trust that good things could last even when they got complicated. What happens now? she asked as they walked back to their cars. Now we go back to training, Marcus said. If you want. Your ankle's strong, but there are always new goals to work toward. And dinner sometimes? Noah added hopefully. I have more drawings to show you. Dinner sometimes, Evelyn agreed. And maybe we can work on drawing together. I'm terrible at it, but Noah could teach me. As they drove away from the mountain in separate cars, Evelyn caught sight of Marcus and Noah in her rearview mirror. They were singing something. She could see Noah's animated gestures and Marcus's smile. A father and son heading home after a day well spent. For the first time in her adult life, Evelyn understood what it meant to have a family that wasn't just defined by blood or social expectations, but by choice. By showing up for each other when it mattered. By being brave enough to care about people even when other people talked. Her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Same time Monday for training? Noah wants to know if you need help hanging his drawings. Evelyn smiled and texted back. Monday sounds perfect. Tell Noah I'm going to need a bigger refrigerator. The response came immediately. He says that's a good problem to have. Driving home through the golden afternoon light, Evelyn thought about her father's favorite saying, actions matter more than words. Today had been full of actions. Walking uphill when it was hard, showing up for people she cared about, choosing love over fear even when the choice felt risky. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Her mother would probably have opinions about the hiking photos Noah was sure to show his teacher. The gossip blogs might find new reasons to speculate. The hotel business would continue to demand her attention and leadership. But tonight, she had a mountain conquered, a promise kept, and a child's drawing on her refrigerator that proved families could be made as well as born. Sometimes the long way home was the only way that mattered.